Have you ever read a novel and thought, this feels political, but no one is saying it openly? Or noticed how history textbooks sound very confident but somehow always favor the powerful? Welcome back to Theory That Doesn't Make You Cry, where we remind you that history is not neutral and literature is never innocent. And today's episode, New Historicism, the theory that says history isn't the background of literature, it's part of the plot. So what is New Historicism? New Historicism believes one powerful thing. Literature and history shape each other simultaneously. Old Historicism used to say, here is the historical background, now read the text. New Historicism says, no, the text is part of history and history itself is a text. So instead of asking, what does the text mean? New historicists ask, what power structures surround this text? Who had authority at this time? Which voices were allowed to speak? Which voices were silenced? Literature is not timeless art flowing above society. It is deeply embedded in politics, power, institutions, and ideology. And what makes it new? Let's clarify the difference. Old historicism. History equals objective facts, and literature equals reflection of history. Focus on kings, wars, big events. New historicism. History equals constructed narratives. Literature is active participant in history, and focus is on everyday life, marginal voices, and circulation of power. New Historicism does not trust official history. It listens to pamphlets, court records, diaries, medical reports, prison documents, and gossip. Of course, academically approved gossip. Because power hides in small details, not only in big events. And this is where Stephen Greenblatt enters, with social energy and power. New Historicism, as we know it today, is shaped by Stephen Greenblatt. Greenblatt introduced the idea of circulation of social energy. He argued that literary texts absorb social tensions. Power, fear, desire, authority move through culture. Literature does not resist power from outside, it negotiates power from within. Greenblatt showed that texts borrow from political rituals, echo legal language, reflect religious anxieties, and repackage authority in aesthetic form. For him, literature is a cultural transaction, not a moral lecture. Shakespeare, for example, is not outside power. He is deeply engaged with it. And now, Foucault. Power, knowledge, and discipline. You cannot talk about New Historicism without Michel Foucault, the man who ruined everyone's trust in institutions. Foucault said, power is everywhere. It doesn't live only in kings or governments. It circulates through schools, hospitals, prisons, families, and language. Power doesn't just punish, power produces knowledge. If society decides what is normal, it also decides what is mad, criminal, immoral, and deviant. Foucault famously said, power produces truth, meaning what we call truth is often just the dominant discourse speaking confidently. And now, key concepts you must know. Here are the concepts New Historicism runs on. Discourse, systems of thought that decide what can be said, who can say it, and with what authority. Power or knowledge. Knowledge is never neutral. If you control knowledge, you control reality. Panopticon. People behave because they might be watched. Modern examples: CCTV, exams, attendance apps, social media. Circulation of power. Power is not top-down only. It flows through habits, rituals and norms. Textuality of history. History is written, edited and selected. Therefore, history is a narrative, not pure fact. And now, a funny real-life example. Imagine a school. Students behave even when the teacher isn't there. Why? Because discipline is internalized. Foucault would say, "Congratulations, the panopticon is working." Your attendance app is not just an app, it's a discipline technology. New Historicism looks at your classroom and says, this is not education, this is power training. And now, literary applications. Let's apply New Historicism to literature. First, Shakespeare. Not a universal genius floating above history, but a writer working under monarchy, negotiating censorship, managing rebellion and loyalty. The Tempest. Colonial power, language as control, where Prospero is authority and Caliban is silenced subject. And Jane Eyre. Gender and class discipline, colonial wealth funding domestic comfort, madness used to silence resistance. New Historicism shows us that texts reveal power structures even when they pretend not to. And now we come to UGC NET Essentials. Key figures: Stephen Greenblatt, New Historicism, Social Energy. Michel Foucault, Power, Discourse, Knowledge. Raymond Williams, Culture as Lived Practice. And Hayden White, History as Narrative. Key ideas: history is textual, literature participates in power, power circulates, and non-literary texts matter. And common questions: difference between old and new historicism, meaning of discourse, power-knowledge relationship, panopticon, and role of marginal documents. And now we come to core metaphor. Think of history like a WhatsApp group. Some messages are highlighted, some are deleted, some people speak, some are muted. New Historicism asks, who controls the group? Who decides what stays and who benefits from the silence? And finally, conclusion. So that was New Historicism, the theory that doesn't make you cry but makes you suspicious of every official version. It teaches us history is not neutral. Power shapes narratives, literature is political, and silence is meaningful. Next episode, we meet the theory that says identity is not natural, it is performed. Yes, queer theory is coming next. And until next time, goodbye and thank you.